The Home Office are recruiting. I'm going to reply. So the Home Office are recruiting.
You'll be straight in the fucking junkie.
I'm going to work for Yvette Cooper. What are you talking about?
Are you sure it's not DII? DEI?
Yeah, well, it will
Tell
be.
me
sure you can apply there?
I can tell them I'm trans. So the Home Office is hiring a customer service advisor. So you might think, oh, well, maybe this is the Home Office. Maybe it's passports. Maybe it's something like that, right? Customer service, you call up, you want to get your passport sorted. Maybe it's something in that department. Oh, no. Because it's at Manston, which is where the small boat people are processed. Now, I said customer bloody service, right? This isn't the call center of some mobile phone network. This is the actually processing those who have arrived here illegally, being prioritised for British housing and getting 5-star service from a primarily male and fighting age audience that they are, arriving from France, which I repeat, like I do every week, is a safe country. So they're hiring this customer service advisor, and I think it's on something like 30 grand. It was about what? Now, some people would be very happy with that wage, actually. And I just thought, bloody hell, like the language itself tells you of the sign of intent, right? That they don't care, they don't view this as a problem, an invasion to our country. They view this actually as we need to be kind, we need to be gentle. And then you look at their actual records. I'm just going to list you off a few things. 10,000 Channel migrants have arrived in 75 days of labour. So the total this year is now at 23,598. Over 100 more in Starmer's first 75 days than in Boris Johnson's first year in government. And I think that's a sign that they recognise that Labour will let them stay. They will grant them de facto amnesty. Of course, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, she can't list a plan. She doesn't know her arse from her elbow. And saying things like, oh, we need to smash the gangs isn't working. They've just hired this new Border Force fella, this chief of the Border Force Command, which they've said they were going to do for months. And guess what he said? You need a deterrent. Well, I hate to break it to you, pal, but the government that you're working for, they just scrapped what was meant to be a deterrent, and they don't have any idea for any other one. So some might be watching all of this and say, oh, Darren, you're grumbling again. What's the problem? Cheer up, my friend. It's nearly Christmas. 99 days, or is it 98 now, which scared me a lot. But migrants are disproportionately behind a surge in arrests in this country. The Home Office was criticised for refusing to provide data on the nationalities of those arrested, but the Centre for Migration Control got their mitts on the true scale of the crisis. They used sample-sized data from dozens of police constabularies across England and Wales and found that migrants are disproportionately behind the country's increasing number of arrests. In 2023, there was one arrest of a British national per 94 people. However, for migrants, that rate surges to 1 in 70. So the migrant arrest rate is 34% higher than that of the British-born population. So in Derbyshire alone, there's one migrant arrest per 46. The rate there is 127% higher. And in Nottinghamshire, it's 121% higher. In Cambridgeshire, it's 105% higher. You go through all these things where actually you start to realise that there's a significant problem. Between 2021 and 23, there were 369,000 arrests of migrants on Britain's streets. And then you think, well, I wonder where all these migrants are hiding out. Well, I'll tell you where they're hiding out. They're hiding out in car washes. They're hiding out in barbershops that you see on your high streets every 2 seconds. Your high streets are crumbling, falling apart. Nobody's on them. They're all going to big supermarkets or shopping centres. But for some reason, you can't move without bumping into a Turkish barber. You can't move without bumping into a car wash. You can't move without bumping into one of those vape shops. You can't move without bumping in London into one of those candy shops on a piece of real estate that costs more than a row of houses in somewhere like the northeast. You can't make sense of it. And it's because they're being used as sophisticated gang fronts to help. They did this in Wales, in a Welsh town, and used it to put through drugs worth more than £400,000, using these shops as fronts for that trade. Now, all of those stories, do they not, suggest that we have a problem? We've got a problem with illegal migration, people coming here. We don't know what they're up to. We don't know if they have jihadi sympathies. Some will. It's statistical certainty. More migrants getting involved in arrests. And the fact that there are people coming here to get involved in all of this. Like, I don't think these fellas here look like they, some of them may be second generation, but I bet you my bottom dollar some of them will be first. So we've got a problem. Eunice, do the Labour Party take this seriously enough?
No, I don't think so at all. And as you said, I think the money laundering operations in London are just out of control.
Definitely.
Because these people, they, set up a barbershop, they set up a vape shop. And when you walk past it, you realize that there's actually no one in the barbershop and there's no one in the vape shop. Yet they somehow have millions in revenue every year, and they manage to keep their doors open for years and years and years. And of course, look, if you're an illegal migrant, you can't work. So of course you have to do crime. You have to do illegal stuff to make money. And what's the best way to do illegal stuff is to do cash in hand, to set up money laundering businesses. And obviously it creates a black market. And then at the end of the day, it actually damages the British citizen, because you created this whole big black market, and ordinary people, hardworking people, they have to pay taxes, whilst these illegal immigrants get away with murder. Some of them even end up going on benefits. Some of them end up going on benefits, and they, set up these businesses on the side, cash in hand, and, they're driving BMWs whilst they're on universal credit. It just doesn't make sense.
Alex?
I don't think anyone in this country is surprised anymore. I don't think anyone's surprised that there's a connection between illegal migration and rising crime rates. If you put them on a graph, and we actually had the data, which, multiple police forces have been accused of not taking data down, which is why the Rotherham scandal is so difficult to process, because, as multiple independent inquiries found, the police were too scared to be called racist to take down the data and the ethnicity of those committing crimes. But I don't think anyone's surprised. I think everyone knows what they can see with their eyes. Everyone knows what they can see when they read articles online. And it's typical Orwellian nature of a government like Starmer's, where they tell you not to believe your eyes, that you're all a racist if you see that. And I think it's a sign of the times where the public are so vehemently being lied to by the establishment and the parties that be, that they're starting to distrust their own eyes. That's how you become an Orwellian state. And I really do worry that unless there is a politician or multiple politicians that are going to stand up against this, that the battle will be lost.
Chloe, I just watched a video earlier from Inside Border Force, right, for one of those television programs, and the Border Force man asks this guy from Nigeria who says he's 16, still at school, and he looks about 30. I kid you not. And this guy says his birth date is 1990, and the Border Force guy says, well, you ain't 16, fella. And he says, sorry, I meant 2006. And he said, how did you get confused between 1990 and 2006? And this Nigerian fella says, oh, well, I'm here because my parents were murdered and money was stolen. Because these parents owed money or something like that, some Nigerian dispute, gang-related. And then the Border Force man says, well, I can't allow you here because you've just lied to me. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? You're not there to be Dr. Freud. You're there to police Britain's borders. If he doesn't have a right to be here, he doesn't have a visa, doesn't have right to remain, you tell him to sling his hook. You don't sit there and ask him for all and sundry about his life so that you can tick off and make your life easier by passing him through with an asylum claim when there isn't a legitimate one there. So there is a weakness, a systemic weakness, and it's actually, I'd say it's poisoning the asylum and immigration system to the point where I no longer think that anything should exist for a period that I can't determine, but I would definitely stop everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that video, but this person was clearly an idiot this person was clearly an idiot to say 1990 and couldn't do basic maths. But for the people that do actually manage to say the correct birth year, it is super easy for them to get into Britain. They just say that they're a kid, claim that they're 16 or 17, because if you're in your 20s, you can just about pass as that, and then you're sorted, and you'll get a free education where you can go hang out with the kids as well. There was, as you said, Darren, there were a bunch of things that you showed there to respond to. I can't remember all of them, but you mentioned that they finally got a commander for their new border force. So remember before the election that Labour was saying, we're going to have this
Day
we're
one.
going to have this tough new border force command.
Mhm.
And then I remember, I think they had a bloke, then he quit. Then I remember 40 days in, Guido putting up an article saying 40 days in, and they still don't have a commander, right? And this is in peak summer, when the boats are flooding in and they've got no one steering the ship. Excuse me, a terrible anecdote. So they've got this new guy, and I looked him up on LinkedIn, actually. And so this guy, in his LinkedIn bio, he's got a load of grammar mistakes, which I think already is a big red flag and suggests that he's not competent. But it does say, amongst the spelling and grammar mistakes, that this was the guy that led he's a policeman. He led the policing response to COVID-19. So I'm thinking, okay, if this is the guy who locked everyone up for sitting on benches having cups of tea, I'm not really sure I want him in charge of the Border Force Command. And then we also had an immigration minister just tell us that they are completely ruling out the possibility of ever turning boats back to France in the Channel. So that's the only policy that could have ever worked, and Labour have just ruled it out. So there's no chance of anything ever changing, I'm afraid, guys, at least under this government.
No.
Yeah, can I just add something very quick? Because my auntie is a lawyer and she's actually an immigration lawyer. And basically there are so many legal pathways that you can get asylum in this country. You can say, oh, I converted to Christianity, for example. And that almost works 100% of the time, because they say, oh, well, if you go back to Iran or Afghanistan, you're a Christian, they'll kill you. And, all kinds of different excuses, all kinds of political excuses, and people all over the world basically know this now. They basically know what to say, exactly what to say. That makes it impossible for the British government to send you back, right? And the laws need to change. And one of the ways we have to change the law is that we need to come out of ECHR. And also we need to change our domestic policy. As long as we are bound by these international, European and domestic rules, there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. The boats are going to come. The guy's going to say, oh, well, I converted to Christianity. My life is in danger. And legally, you cannot send them back. That would be breaking the law. So there needs to be a complete overhaul of the system if we're going to tackle this illegal immigration and just immigration in general.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. There's only one party that seems to recognise that throughout its entire parliamentary force, and it ain't the Conservatives, right? Because there are many on those benches that say, even Priti Patel said that it was a red herring, that ECHR wasn't a factor. Yeah. Well, if it's not a factor, love, why didn't you stop the boats whilst you were Home Secretary under Boris Johnson?
And it's a very long, lengthy process, because you have to change the laws, basically. And then it has to go through House of Commons. It has to go House of Lords. It's going to be years process. And the thing is, the more we kick the can down the road, the longer it's going to take.
Well, you have to. What you have to do is ensure that because Blair put the Human Rights Act in force, which actually enshrined the ECHR onto British statute. So you have to get rid of that as well. But as soon as you say we're getting rid of human rights, you've got the Labour Party going, what about the terrorists? How terrible. And, the ECHR definitely is a very good friend of terrorism in this country. It just is. So when people, lecture me on human rights and all this other stuff, I think, whose rights are you talking about? You're talking about the rights of the girls that were raped in Rotherham. Are you talking about the rights of those little girls that were killed in Manchester Arena? Whose rights are you talking about here? Because I tell you right now, it ain't the rights of the people that I want us to focus on for once in a damn change.
Exactly. And also, one last thing I want to add to this. Look, immigration, if it's in a healthy amount, is good. But I think this country has taken enough immigrants. And I always find that ironic. They always say, oh, well, I'm fleeing a war-torn zone. Okay, go to Romania. Go to Bulgaria. Go to Hungary. Why is it that all these migrants always want to come to Western Europe, to the best cities, London, Paris, Milan? They want to always go to the best cities. Well, if your country is war-torn, I get it. Fine. Go to Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary. But it's funny because those countries don't take immigrants. Poland doesn't take immigrants. So they're smart about it. And as I said on your show, Darren, they see us as a soft target because they say, oh, well, if I could just go and say I'm a Christian, the British are just going to take me and they're going to give me asylum and then I'm going to go on benefits and I'm probably going to get free housing. So, yeah.
Yes, someone they're pointing out in the comments actually about this amazing story from Israel with the pages and then the walkie-talkies, and Hezbollah have no bollocks now, but someone said, "Watch your vapes, watch your vapes." So now I'm worried: am I going to blow to smithereens? But it's chi.
Be careful, Darren.
Body. Yeah,
Mossad's coming for you.
Oh no.
Or maybe Hamas.
I'm a friend of Israel. I'm a friend of Israel.
Just don't put it in your pocket. Just don't put it in your
Oh
pocket.
God,
Leave on
it's
the
always
table.
in my pocket next to my penis. I'm gonna be a eunuch. Well,
No
at least
72
at
virgins.
least I'll-
No 72 virgins for the Hamas.
Well,
and
that's
Hezbollah
it. Yes,
fighters,
I love the pager meme saying shalom. But the fact of the matter is, at least if my bits do get blown off, I'll be able to apply for all those jobs through DEI. So there are benefits to my bits getting blown off. Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.